Wonderful. Well, I'm here with Ida, and we're talking about something really special because we're talking about, in many respects, we're talking about Ida's life so far. But in more than that, we're talking about a creative, artistic piece that Ida produced a year or so ago, that in many respects has become, it's become an icon, really. It's an icon of what it means to come to this country as an asylum seeker. It tells us something about her background, gives us an insight into her as a person, and I'm really pleased that we've got this opportunity for her to introduce it, and then for us to show it, and then for her to reflect upon it. So that's sort of where we're going, and that's what we're going to do. And so it's great to have you with us, Ida, on this particular My Story. Um, I remember when I first met you, but except I didn't sort of meet you, not in person anyway, because you turned up at the church right smack in the middle of lockdown and the COVID crisis and all of that. And so I think it must have been it was a long time before I actually got to meet you face to face, isn't that right? Um,
Exactly.
so tell us briefly by way of sort of introducing yourself what it felt like to turn up in Cardiff, not knowing anybody really, and why did you make contact with Albany Road Baptist Church and with me as the pastor? Start there.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, first of all, to give me this opportunity and having me here. Yeah, I came to the Cardiff in the middle of COVID. Actually, I came to the UK just a week before that all this COVID happened and everything. And of course, my mental health wasn't at all in a good place. I got a lot of panicking and everything, and somehow God helped me, and I end up in a Cardiff. And I really desperately wanted to reach out to church and, practice worship, find my people, my family, which I found in Albany Baptist Church. Amazing, amazing. It's if the whole journey of my life, you can see the hand of God that puts all the together like a puzzle and guide me to what I have to be there. And yes, I reached out to you 16th of September. I exactly remember this is the first that we saw each other on a Zoom link, in Zoom meeting that you had for church.
And
And
that was in 2021.
2020.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Okay.
Yes, yes, 2020. 6th September 2020. But yeah, I came to the country to 16 February 2020.
Okay.
Yes, and I'm glad that I meet you, and it's the first time I see you, and you are so welcome. And it's like you know me long before that. I didn't feel at all I'm a stranger to the whole church, actually, to the whole welcoming, smiling faces, and immediately I felt that I'm blank here. That's my
Okay,
home.
fantastic. Yeah, and it was a joy, I have to say. It was a real privilege to be able to welcome you, as it is to welcome so many people from across the world in the life of the church. And you came not just with all your worldly possessions, but you came with an awful lot of baggage. You mentioned that already. Your mental health wasn't in a great place, and from my perspective, you were quite traumatized when you arrived. Tell us a little bit about that, and tell us, because I think that sort of leads quite well into the reason why you decided to create this animation. So give us the introduction to the animation, but tell us what was going on that led you to do this.
Exactly. That's the thing I wanted to say, that when you come to you you live a life that you had behind and just want to rescue your life. You have just one chance and you want to save your life. That's the thing.
Okay.
But when you come to the place that you feel that finally you are safe, no threat is, there's no threat around you. but still you have a big luggage of the trauma that you have to face that. You are safe, but it's not that it's finished. It's not finished. And now you have to deal with just not the trauma that something terrible happened to you. And also besides that, you are facing a lot of things that are completely new to you, and you feel strange, but everything is new language, new faces, new streets, everything. And you have to deal with that, and it's need a strength to face that. When you are not in a good position in your mind, you cannot do that. You even I think scientifically you cannot learn a new language when you are traumatized, you are keep anxiety, you are stressful. You can't just for how many times you repeat the words, you cannot keep it in your mind. And that's my position. I was stressful, I was traumatized, and I knew that my only savior that already saved me in a safe place, he's my only thing that I have to and must to hold on to keep this journey and heal myself. He already saved me once, and he will save me forever. That's why I keep that peace in church, and I seek help in church. That I'm not in a good position mentally, and I need help. And that's why we started to. It was obvious because you noticed that the first year I couldn't open my mouth without crying, and now after 3 years I can talk about it, and all because this happened, because so many people, especially you, helped me with this journey and hold my hand, and we walk together, and we step by step we empty that luggage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, do you know, and I remember when we started that conversation, it focused around this, well, several incidences, but the one that really stood head and shoulders above the rest was the way that you, as a woman in Iran, were treated, the repression that you experienced, and the way that ultimately led you, both in terms of your gender and also in terms of your faith, to find yourself in difficulty with the authorities. And
Yeah.
and I remember us talking about that, and I remember it focused upon one individual and one incidence, that when we began to unpack that, it almost blew everything apart, didn't it? Well, I say blew it apart, but it's more accurate to say we began to put things back together.
Yes.
And the reason why I say that is because that's what this animation is about, really, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's
That
about
it starts. Yes, it's about forgiveness,
okay.
and
So
that's which. Sorry,
no,
interrupted
no, no,
you.
so, no, no, that's fine. So tell us about that. Tell us about the, without telling us the content of the animation, because we'll show it in a moment. Tell us the inspiration behind it. Tell us why you did this.
I did it because in the summer, when we decided that I came in my heart that it is now the time that I wanted to baptize. And we go
Okay.
through that, my baptism, and we talked about that. We are going to that past life that we had. When Jesus come to me, I already changed, but there's all of the things that happened around me, with the authorities in Iran and everything. That I felt that I am in a fight with them. And when I came out of the Iran and I feel safe here, still in my mind, I was fighting with them. And that carries a lot of anger, that is lots of hate. And that baggage full of that. And when we, I baptized, we talked through that you cannot carry that. We have to, face this, all of this. This is the new life you have, and you are not going to get it with you for the rest of your life. That was the start of my baptism was the first point that we wanted to address, that all of this in me. And we started to talk about it. All of that. It was so difficult for me to talk about all of that. But we did it. With the help of the Lord, I faced it. And yeah, I had the image in my mind that really, my worst enemy that I couldn't forgive, because it's ruined my life.
Yeah.
And I can see that it is not just me, ruined a lot of people.
Yes.
Still, and that's making me more and more and more angry. But when you carry this much hate and anger, it affects you.
Yes,
mentally,
absolutely.
in your
Absolutely.
heart. It's like you getting some shadow in your heart, and you cannot shine. And we wanted to do that. We wanted my heart to shine again, and we started to this therapy session with you, that we definitely working up this and address this. That's why all the stories began. My whole journey. It started in Iran, all the trauma, that all the things happen.
Yeah.
But it leads to another way, to the light. That's why I started the animation with the dark. It's a white and black, white and black, because it's all the memory that we go through. That even every time you told me that close your eyes, imagine, I saw that all black and white. And we started in the black, and all the journey that happened to me in Iran, and after that, I free from that anger, free from that hate, and I reached that point that I want to forgive these people and be free from them. I don't want to carry them anymore. I want to live my life. And the whole animation is about, I didn't have that courage to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
But another turning point for me, we started in baptism in the summer, and it was in the autumn that you hand me a story about the forgiveness. And that I couldn't see you read that story to me. I couldn't let go of it. It is still with me. It is still with me. And I thought that's amazing. That's the thing that I want to be. When you have a role model, that lady in that story was my role model. And
yes.
I can't do that. I have to do that. That is my calling, that the Lord wants me to do that. But I'm still going to say that story loudly, publicly. It needs a lot of encouragement, and you have to relive it, and you go through your memory, you are telling it, you relive it. And I didn't feel that I'm strong enough to do that. That's why I was working on another story in my animation, my first semester, for 3-4 months of my education life. I was working on that. But when you feel something in your heart that keep telling you, this is your call, you have to do it. And the second semester, I told my lecturer that I want to work on this story, the story that you gave me, the forgiveness. And he said, it is fantastic story, but what is your turning point? What is you are working on some other story, and you suddenly wanted to say. I said, because I really connected to that story. I really feel that it's like myself, my story. And we started to talking, and he said, okay, if you're that much connected to this man, why you are not telling yours? And we was, I don't know if I can do that. And he was so supportive. He was just think about it. just think about it because your mental health is so important for us, and we don't want to go through anything. And we think about that. I came to you and I said that I'm going to do that. What do you think? And I couldn't do all of this without all support, and none of any of the a step in a way that I took, I couldn't do it alone. You were by my side, my lecturer were by my side, and we finally managed to tell that story. And it is a story because it is my life, and I know every aspect of it. Maybe it's short because we have to produce it short, and sometimes it is so difficult to relieve all that emotion, all that happened. It was so difficult. Even thinking about it bring tears in my eyes.
Yeah.
But I got the strength of my Lord, and because the message of it's so important. I wanted to tell the people that with all the trauma that you have, with love, this is the thing that I insist. I keep saying with kindness. Just be kind to each other and support each other and love each other, because that's exactly the love that Jesus wants for us. He shined to us, and we can shine to other people. That's all this is. I think that's our faith is in action. We practice it. We practice. And I said, I'm going to forgive and free myself, and want to say to other people that you can do it too. We can do it together. We can do it if we support each other and help each other. We can do it. And that's the message of the animation, and I hope it reach out to lots of people, and that's all about it.
Fantastic. So we're going to show that animation now, and that's a brilliant introduction. I think it sets it up brilliantly. So watch this. Wonderful. So welcome back, and you've had the opportunity to see this incredible animation and have the background and the setting to it. But Ida, I wanted to ask you, I wanted to ask you what your hope is for the animation. What do you hope it does in terms of those who watch it?
Because I'm a visual person. When I see something, it sticks to my mind. It's feel more connected. I love reading books because that gives you the opportunity that you imagine all the things that you wanted. But I found that some films, documentary, or animation can send a message powerful too, as well as the writing and the scripts. And that's why I thought if I tell my story and put it in a visual, that's and tell the whole story, what happened, people maybe can engage to that emotional, that feeling, that the message that I wanted today to understand that, and that's why I try to pick the um turning points, what happened,
Mm.
just show that maybe it's just impact, but this happened, and this happened, and the conclusion of the animation. Yeah, I hope they feel that it's my storytelling, my true story, and that's I feel they touch their heart, the audience heart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing that's really important, I guess, to say is that your story is different to other people's story, but everybody needs to tell their story.
Exactly.
And they need to tell their story to somebody who will walk with them through it and
Exactly.
will help them, to act, someone who can act as a guide to help them to come out the other side is
Exactly.
really, really important. It
That's
doesn't help if you keep it to yourself because it will find another way out. And often it will find its way out in depression or mental health problems. It isn't until you release it in a controlled explosion, in a way, that you can move beyond it. And I think that's important to say. So
exactly.
yeah, that's good. And so having done it, having got it out there, having won some awards because of it, tell us what difference it's made for you to have actually done this.
Um, as I told you before, I started the therapy session with you. That's helping me to reach that point, that be free and forgive. And one of the practice that we used to do that is therapy session, that we close our eyes and go through the memory. And I take that part, exactly that part in animation and
Mm.
put it. And the whole process of the making this animation exactly was like the therapy for me, because I have to close my eyes, I have to imagine, and I have to bring it out visually and to show to other people. That was like how can I say it? You face it again. You face your worst fear. You face your struggle. You face your weakness, and you see it visually, and that's making impact in you. And it was difficult.
Mm.
I'm not going to hide it. It
Yeah.
wasn't at all easy. I struggled a lot in a bit. I was like, oh, I can't finish it. It's a bad idea, but I keep going.
I can understand that because quite apart from the emotion that goes with that, this is 24 frames a second and there are 3 minutes of it. That's a lot of there's a lot of drawings because
Exactly, lots.
every frame has to be drawn. And so just in terms of the
Exactly,
workload, that's massive. And to stay in the moment, in the trauma for that long,
exactly,
um, it shows both your resolve and your courage, your determination. And in many respects, it could have ended badly, but it didn't. It ended so well because you got it out and you confronted it and you let go of the trauma and the hurts. And I admire you enormously for that.
oh, thanks.
I've over the years I've met a lot of people And there are very few who are willing to take the courage to confront something like you confronted. And you're only a little thing, and you're short of stature, and yet there's a big heart in there. And it comes out. It comes out in what you produced and your desire that it might help others. So that's really
So
good.
much. Thank you, but I really couldn't do that without your help. I
It's a,
I
it's a team sport, isn't it?
Yes, it
Yeah,
is. It
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
definitely,
yeah, yeah,
definitely it is.
absolutely.
Because you're told sometimes, and when you are doing the animation, you're going to a lots of detail,
Yes,
and I have to draw my worst enemy. I
yes,
have to see the hands. I have to see his head, and I have to move it. As you said, I have to repeat it 24 times to make it move.
every
And that's
second.
every second. And that's a lot of focus on your
Yeah, yeah,
first enemy. And
yeah,
that's what that emotional count.
yes,
That's
yes,
your whole journey, that connection with that. Lots
yeah,
of dialogues and everything that come. And you have to understand that. And yeah, that's all things that it's not easy. I said it's not. Lots of people are saying, "Do you really forgive?"
yeah,
And I said, to be honest, it wasn't that easy. That to say,
yeah.
okay, I forgive you. That's all.
No,
No.
no, and that's true because it has to be real. It has to be
Yeah.
genuine. And as I watched you do that, and had the privilege of doing that, I knew it was genuine because it was like a weight had been lifted off your shoulders. You were set free by the forgiveness that you gave to somebody who didn't deserve to be forgiven. It wasn't about letting them get away with it
Yeah.
or letting them off the hook. It was about setting you free because
Exactly.
otherwise you could have been a victim of their appalling behavior for the rest of your life. And that's not right. That's not right.
Exactly.
Hey, listen, that's fantastic. Do you know, we'd really appreciate comments. If you have any thoughts about what Ida has said, stick them in the comments section below. And if you have any questions, if there's a question that this raises for you, and you'd like to ask Ida that question, then stick it in the comments below, and we will do our best to answer any questions that we can. And so thank you, Ida. Thank you for being willing to share that. It's another step along the way, isn't it? It's another step in your own healing and your own
Thank you so much.
wholeness. And
Thank
so
you
that's
so much.
great.
Bless you, really. I, you are all I got. That, that's the prize. I've got you. I've got my church family, and my heart is shining again.